Let me tell you something, weirdos. It's your boy, Jay Kraft, the mysterious third man, dropping the leg on every other rival podcast and pinning them 1, 2, 3 right here in the podcast ring. And this is Universe of Weirdos, brothers. And what you gonna do when the Universe of Weirdos podcast runs wild all over you? Well, you're going to listen to a wonderful podcast that is actually brought to you by our fellow podcast, Nerd in Life with Sean Jones Jr. Because me and Sean, we decided to have ourselves a little crossover, but in a non-traditional way that podcasts like to do. I didn't come on his show and he came on mine. Nah, that's too easy, right? So we decided to trade podcast topics for an episode. I gave Sean some talking points for a 90s basketball show, and Sean gave me the talking points for what we're talking about today, which is the needless lies of Hulk Hogan. So get excited for that. We're about to go over some really good, really bizarre lies that a gigantic pop culture icon told multiple times to multiple people, and it seems pointless. Because if you're Hulk Hogan, why do you lie about stuff? You're already Hulk Hogan, right? So be sure to check out Nerd in Life with Sean Jones Jr. wherever you get your podcast. It is a podcast from a pop culture standpoint of what it was like to be a black nerd growing up in the 90s. And it's a very good show. It's actually PopCon award winning. So that's pretty exciting. Check it out wherever you can. But here we are. We're about to talk about the old Hulkster and all of the needless lies that he has told over the years. And it's kind of strange because, you know, like, I didn't realize that Hulk Hogan was such a weird, compulsive liar as he was. And then, you know, Sean started pointing all of this stuff out to me, and I'm like, holy shit. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that we'd trade these two topics. You know, 90s basketball seems like it's much more of a nerd and life topic. And Hulk Hogan lying about completely pointless things seems like it's a very Universe of Weirdos topic. So just like when two great comics write jokes that don't necessarily fit their style, we passed them off to somebody who could use it a lot better. So all credit for this episode goes to Sean Jones Jr. I would dare say Sean Jones Jr. presents Universe of Weirdos for this week. Kind of like when Quentin Tarantino wants to put his name on a horror movie that he had nothing to do with, even though Sean had a lot more to do with this one. But yeah, I mean, I find it weird that Hulk Hogan would lie about a shitload of things because, you know, he is Hulk Hogan, right? Like, it's easy to impress people by just being Hulk Hogan. I mean, the guy is the pop culture equivalent of a Michael Jordan, of a Muhammad Ali, a Mike Tyson, if you will. He's a Ronald McDonald. He's Sylvester Stallone. You know, he is just a pop culture icon. The dude's had cartoons about him, merchandise, endless things. Everyone knows Hulkamania. If you don't know anything about professional wrestling, you at least know the name Hulk Hogan. That's how popular he is. You know that you're worth a shit in your respective field if people who don't pay attention to your respective field know who you are. It's how I know that Sabrina Carpenter is a gigantic pop star. I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to pop music. I don't expose myself to it. But I've heard that name a million times, so I know she's got to be pretty popular, right? She's got to be big. So that's what we're talking about here. And it's weird to know that somebody who is an icon like Hulk Hogan would lie about things. It's like if Michael Jordan would tell you, you know, like, hey, you know, I actually have the high score in Donkey Kong, when you know that he doesn't. And it's like, why would you lie? You have 6 NBA championships. Why would you lie to me about the high score? You have the high score of Pac-Man? No, you don't. It's a weird thing to fucking lie about. Now, I did do some additional research into this to see all of the things that people claim Hulk Hogan lied about over the years. And like, some of his lies to me just seem like him misremembering like the year that things happened, which is definitely understandable for somebody who does so much. I mean, Hulk Hogan wrestles, at least in his prime, he wrestled a fuckload a year. He traveled to a new city basically every day, and he did that for years. So like some of the things that people drag him for, like they try to call him a liar for claiming that he wrestled Brock Lesnar after Brock Lesnar went and dominated the UFC, when the reality was that he wrestled Brock Lesnar before he went to the UFC. But I don't feel like that's a lie. I don't consider that a lie. That's just a dude who does a lot of shit and forgetting exactly when one of his millions of matches actually happened. So those kind of things, those little peripheral lies, like I'm not going to focus on any of those. The things where he got the dates wrong, unless it's super egregious, because there is some of those. So I will definitely go over some of these because I had to cut out a lot of stuff that were like, he said that he did this in 93 when really it was 94. And I was like, who gives a fuck, man? He's a busy guy. I do that. And I'm far from a Hulk Hogan. There are times where I can tell you a story of something that happened in my life, and I'm like, I'd say that was probably somewhere between '04 and '09 that happened. I can narrow it down to about a 5-year gap because, things get blurry when you party. I don't know. But like speaking of the UFC though, Hulk Hogan did claim that he was asked to fight in the very first UFC. Like the very first UFC was always like, we're going to get a boxer, we're going to get a jiu-jitsu guy, we're going to get a karate guy, and we're going to see whose style matches the most. And I guess Hulk Hogan claimed that he was asked to represent the fighting style of professional wrestling. But that's completely ridiculous for a few reasons why that's ridiculous. Now, he says that he didn't agree to do it because the referees were too dodgy. Like, I don't know, man, those guys don't really stop fights the way they're supposed to. So I don't believe that. I think that that's a total lie. And for a few reasons why it's a total lie, he wouldn't have been offered because at the time, Hulk Hogan was making millions of dollars a year. And the very first UFC was on a fucking shoestring budget. It was a rinky-dink operation, so they wouldn't have had the money to pay Hulk Hogan to be in the very first UFC. So I think that one's like so obviously nonsense. So I don't think he was even remotely considered for the first UFC. He also said that he was going to fight Mike Tyson on pay-per-view, but Mike Tyson was too scared to go through with it. Because if it's one thing that we know about Iron Mike Tyson of the 90s was that he was scared of people. Like the dude bit a guy's fucking ear off in the middle of the ring. You think that he's scared to fight a fake fighter? Come on now. That's a bold ass claim. He also claimed that he took on a bunch of Pride FC fighters in the 70s. Pride Fighting Championship is what that is. That is a MMA promotion that was started in Japan, and it, actually rivaled the UFC. It was like the premier mixed martial arts promotion for the longest time. It was actually taken more seriously than the UFC. People considered the fighters in Pride to be better than UFC fighters. And Hogan claimed that he would fight a bunch of those Japanese Pride fighters in Japan in the 70s, which is weird because Pride Fighting Championship was founded in the 90s, so that was definitely never possible. But, the Hulkster did fly to Japan a lot. He flew there so many times, actually, that he famously lies about it, and he has a famous lie about it. Like, he claims that he flew to Japan so much, crossing the international date line so many times in a single year, that he technically worked 400 days in a single year. And so, even though, that's not how time works there, Hulkster. Like, you're crossing the international date line, right? So, I'm flying out on a Tuesday, and I'm technically wrestling on a Monday in Japan, even though I already wrestled Monday in America. But then I'm flying back across the international date line, brother, and then suddenly it's Wednesday, so I don't know how that works, brother, because I'm gaining a day and then losing a day, and seems like it's making up for it, right, Hulkster? Seems like that's not how time works. It seems like you can't technically wrestle 400 days in a single year. You fucking weird liar. But he also said that he flew on a plane with Kerry Von Erich on a flight from Japan. Now, Kerry Von Erich of the Von Erich family, the Von Erich family is a famous group of wrestlers who, like, they all killed themselves. Like, there were like 4 brothers, five, I don't remember how many there were, but like each one had like these terrible tragedies in their life and they all ended up committing suicide. And he claims that he was flying back to America with Kerry Von Erich 3 days before Kerry Von Erich died. And during that flight, Kerry told him that he would never kill himself. He was like, yeah, brother. He told me I would never take my own life like my brother's brother. But he did kill himself. And he was also years removed from international travel at this point. He had like an amputated foot and was living in a lot of pain and not wrestling in Japan at the time. So that conversation, that flight, that whole story in general never happened. He just wanted to make himself part of Kerry Von Erich's death for whatever weird reason. I don't get that. Like, what? And he did the same thing with Andre the Giant. Like, he claimed that the last time that I wrestled Andre, brother, he died 2 days later. In reality, it was 5 years later. He wrestled Andre, and then Andre lived for 5 more years before dying, not 2 days later. He also claims that Andre weighed 700 pounds and that he tore 14 muscles in his back slamming him during that match, which also was not a reality. He never tore any muscles. I don't even know if there's 14 muscles in your back. And Andre the Giant never weighed 700 pounds, especially not when he wrestled. He was somewhere more around 400, something like that. He also claimed that Andre the Giant was too big to use traditional utensils. Like, yeah, Andre's body was so giant, brother, that he wasn't he claimed this in an interview. I'm pretty sure it was with the 700 Club. He said that Andre couldn't use forks, he couldn't use spoons, and he couldn't use cups because his hands were so big. But a quick Google image search proves this completely wrong. There are hundreds of pictures out there of Andre the Giant eating, drinking out of cups, being a bitch, doing that kind of stuff, fucking using a fork, using a spoon, hundreds of times proving that one wrong. Just Google image Andre the Giant eating, and that one's wrong. Now, here's one that I think is funny, which is, again, misremembering dates, but because he's so specific with it, I have to count this as an egregious Hulk Hogan lie. Hulk Hogan once claims that he partied with John Belushi after WrestleMania 2 in 1986. Now, the problem with that one is John Belushi died in 1982. So I don't know if he partied with Zombie Belushi, or maybe it was Jim Belushi, his brother, but he certainly did not party with John Belushi 4 years after the man had died. So that's egregious. He also claims that he discovered the eventual WWE champion Kevin Owens. He said that he noticed him at KO's second show at NXT, and that's when he realized this guy is going to be a star. So Hulk Hogan was the one who spotted this man at the obscure NXT show, despite the fact that NXT is the developmental brand for talent that the WWE had already discovered. So this was a guy that they had already put on the fast track to becoming a big WWE star. So that's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Like, it would be like noticing somebody on WWE Raw and going, I think this guy's going to be something someday. It's like, yeah, no shit. They're already putting him on fucking WWE television. Of course he's going to be something one day. A fucking weirdo. But he also made the claim that The Undertaker permanently damaged his neck by botching a tombstone onto a chair. And there is footage of this incident that Hogan claimed that it happened. And the footage clearly shows Hogan's head never even coming close to touching the chair. He actually was guided down very gently and very easily And it was just kind of a way of him being like, "Oh, Undertaker, you injured my neck, dude. You basically owe me a favor now." And so, like, that's weird because it never happened. But then there was also a clip from Hogan Knows Best that shows him talking about it, where he claims that it happened on concrete in December of 1974. Like, he's like, "Man, my neck feels like it feels when the Undertaker slammed my head on concrete in December of 1974." Mark Calloway, the guy who plays the Undertaker, was like 9 years old in 1974. So that absolutely never happened. Definitely not the way that he's claiming. So, weird, very weird. He showed up at WrestleMania with a black eye one time, and he claims a million times over, you can find this interview everywhere. It's even on a documentary that I think Netflix just released not too long ago. But he claimed that he showed up to WrestleMania with a black eye because he was riding jet skis with Brutus Beefcake, and he fell off the jet ski, and the jet ski popped up and smacked him in the face. And that's where the Hulkster got his famous black eye that he was rocking at WrestleMania. I believe it was 9 or 10. I'm not too sure on that one. But the thing is witnesses saw Macho Man Randy Savage punch the Hulkster backstage and give him that black eye. So that was a weird story to run with when Macho Man knows the truth. A lot of people that saw Macho Man punch you knows the truth. Shit, Jim Cornette, he said that he saw it, and he said it on his podcast. Like, we know that's where he got the black eye from, was from being punched in the face by Macho Man, not this weird jet ski story that he keeps telling over and over and over again. So very odd. And he also stole Macho Man's baseball pass too. Like, Randy Savage actually played baseball. Like, Randy Poffo is his real name, and he actually was like recruited by the Cincinnati Reds and like played for their minor league team. He was never really good enough to make it to the majors, but you know, I mean, he has a legitimate athletic background, a legitimate baseball past, and could have legitimately been a professional baseball player at one point. So Hulk Hogan decides that he needs to hack some of Macho Man's real life past experiences, and he claims that he was also scouted by the Cincinnati Reds and also the New York Yankees, despite the fact that there's not even like a little league record of Hulk Hogan playing baseball. So that's a strange one. He also claims that he boxed George Foreman for 3 rounds at a charity event. And there seems to be no documentation, no witnesses, no photographs of this event. But he does claim that he sparred with George Foreman for 3 rounds at a charity event. Now, he doesn't claim that he got the better of him, because that would be ridiculous. But to make that claim when no one seems to have ever seen it, no one took a picture. There was certainly media at this charity event, right? When these two titans of their industry would have been present, there would at least been a newspaper article or something, right? Right, Hulk? Right? But he also was supposed to pitch the George Foreman grill, according to Hulk Hogan. It was supposed to be the Hulk Hogan grill. So I don't know, cut the fat, brother. But he missed the phone call, he says, when he was taking his kids to school. So he was driving his kids to school, and they called him, and because they couldn't wait for 5 more minutes to lock down their pitch man, they had decided to go with George Foreman, which doesn't seem to be how business works. And it's actually been confirmed over the years that, no, that's not how that happened. We had always planned on George Foreman selling this grill. So I don't know, man. That's a weird thing to claim, though. I could have millions, brother. You did have millions. You did get millions. So that was a strange thing to put under your fucking, this was something that I was going to do type of thing. But Hulk claims to have rewritten the scripts for most of his movies that he was in and never got writing credits for them. He claims that the Writers Guild screwed him out of writing credits. I don't know if I would brag about that. Santa with Muscles, fucking Mr. Nanny. It's not Mr. Nanny, is it? I think it is Mr. Nanny. Or Mr. Mom was Michael Keaton. Suburban Commando, fucking like those kind of like. Come on, man, you're wanting writing credits for that? Ugh, you were Santa with muscles. I wouldn't tell people I wrote that shit. But he makes weird claims with his movie career because he claims that he was offered the lead role in Highlander. Like they offered him to be Connor McLeod in the Highlander movies, despite the fact that I don't think that you would have been able to do an accent, dude. I think Christopher Lambert was probably the correct choice for that one. I would have almost believed maybe the role of the Kurgan, like the Clancy Brown role in Highlander. Like you could have been the bad guy or something like that, somebody with not a whole lot of lines, but nah, they weren't going to give you Connor McLeod. That's completely ridiculous. But he does claim that he was offered the lead role in the Oscar bait film The Wrestler, the one that eventually went to Mickey Rourke, the one that got him Oscar nominations, the actual actor Mickey Rourke, who did the role justice. But he claims that he was offered the lead role in that, even though Darren Aronofsky, the guy who directed the movie, was like, no, he wasn't even considered. Like Hulk Hogan never even came to mind when thinking about filling this role. So that's a fucking weird thing for him to claim. Almost as weird as him claiming that he was offered to fill the role of Metallica's bass player after Cliff Burton died, which is strange. And like Howard Stern asked Lars Ulrich about this when Lars came on the Howard Stern show, and Lars was like, I've never even met Hulk Hogan. I didn't even know that he played bass. So that's a weird claim to make because I never met Hulk Hogan. He never auditioned. Nobody ever brought his name up. We went with Jason Newsted, a guy who plays bass for another metal band. So what? I didn't know that he played bass on Hulkster in Heaven. I had no idea he was so musically inclined. But that big song Hulkster in Heaven that I played on the Cringe of Sports Anthems podcast a few episodes back, got a nice copyright strike for that one too. So sorry. That's a big ass lie too. And there are so many versions of this story. Like at first it was like, I saw this kid backstage at Wembley and I could smell death on him. And I told these people, like, you got to get this kid to the hospital, man. And then I found out that the kid died, so I wrote a song about him. And then there was another one where he claims that he was inspired by the James Bulger incident, which is a famous true crime story that took place in England where little kids murdered another little kid. And I guess that inspired him to go, we lost another Hulkamaniac, which is super fucking tone deaf at best. But he has a million different stories of how he wrote this song, and it all turns out to be like a lot of bullshit. Like there seems to be no documented evidence that this ever happened or that this kid ever existed or that he gave any of his charity money to that kid's family. It all seems like a whole big batch of Hulkamaniac bullshit. So very weird. And he's also said several times that Hulk Rules album that he made with the wrestling boot band, the one that has Hulkster in Heaven on it, he has said several times that Simon Cowell produced that album, despite the fact that he didn't at all. His name's not on it. He had nothing to do with it. Simon Cowell did produce one of the wrestling like theme song albums for the WWF way back in the day. And maybe that's where Hulkster's getting confused, but nah, Simon Cowell didn't have anything to do with Hulkster in Heaven or Hulk Rules. It's another one of, hey, look, here's a guy who's famous from American Idol. And since in his brain, he goes, I know that guy. So his brain starts doing Hulkster math and going, and he produced my album. I'm going to take some credit for this man's success real quick, which was, again, super strange because he also claimed that Hulkamaniac Elvis, Elvis was a big Hulkamaniac, a big old Hulkster fan. Elvis used to watch Hulk Hogan wrestle and rip his shirts open. Hey, man, let me tell you something, brother. He used to, Love the Hulkster. Tune into all of his pay-per-views and shit. Elvis died before Hulk Hogan was a character, so I don't know how that's true. Old Hulkamaniac Elvis never existed. I don't think that I've ever seen Elvis wear red and yellow. So I think that's a lot of bullshit. I mean, that's a weird, dude, like people can look this up. Elvis died before you were even Hulk Hogan. So no, he wasn't a Hulkamaniac. You fucking weirdo. I mean, the guy claimed 1 million times publicly that he never did steroids, So like we kind of know that he's a dude that's just completely full of shit, right? Like he claims that he never did steroids publicly 1 million times. He's all over Arsenio Hall. No, brother, prayers and vitamins and eating correctly and all of this stuff. But then after he had to testify in court, he said that he tried them a few times, but they never worked out for him. So, I tried one cycle and it didn't do anything, so I quit. But then he also said that he treated steroids like a daily vitamin in his autobiography. So it's like, dude, we all know you took them. We all know that everyone who was a bodybuilder way back in that time took them. All the wrestlers took them. We all know. So it's very strange to flip-flop all that much. He did say in his court hearing, like when he was brought on the stand during his Gawker sex tape trial, he did say during that one that Hulk Hogan has a 10-inch penis, but Terry Bollea does not. So the fictional character Hulk has a big dick, but Terry Bollea, the real guy, doesn't have a big dick. So like we might be dealing with legit personality disorder with this guy. Like he might have a very weird, like strange multiple personality thing where every now and then he has to be Hulk, and then when he needs to take accountability for something, he becomes Terry Bollea. I don't know. It's a very weird thing. The one that I found weird, and this is the last Hulk Hogan lie I'm going to go over before we get out of here, was that he did claim that he convinced Vince McMahon to start selling wrestling merch. Like, hey, we should capitalize on this Hulkamania thing and start selling merchandise, despite the fact that WWF selling merchandise was a thing that was going on well before Hulk Hogan was even in their company. So, like, they used to have magazines featuring superstar Billy Graham that had t-shirts in it and shit. So, again, another completely unnecessary claim for this man to make. And I truly, truly don't get this. The multiple lies of Hulk Hogan, because, again, it's very needless. Like, if you're trying to make yourself look cool, all you have to do is say, I'm Hulk Hogan. I am the professional wrestler. I am the dude that people think about when they think about professional wrestling. You became the very tip top of the wrestling mountain. There is no one else to compare you to. You are undeniably a Mount Rushmore of your respective field. So to also claim that the Rolling Stones wanted me to join their band and I was going to be a pro baseball player and I knew a kid that died, it just seems really strange and needless. It's so unnecessary to lie to try to get people to like you when you've already legitimately accomplished so much. It doesn't seem to make any sort of sense to me at all. So it's got to be some sort of mental disorder, right? That's absolutely what it's got to be. The Hulkster's got to be off his rocker, and he probably always was. That's what ego does to you, man. It makes you have this weird, grandiose, inflated sense of you're the shit. And I guess if you came up being a fake tough guy, you have to keep the fake I'm cool persona going. And how do you fake that? By making up nonsense, I guess. But yeah, that's it for me, guys, for this wonderful episode produced by Sean Jones Jr. of Nerd and Life with Sean Jones Jr. Be sure to give that a like, a share, a subscribe, a 5-star review, and a good rating wherever you rate, review, and subscribe to podcasts. And I would appreciate if you would do the same thing to this podcast, Universe of Weirdos. Tell all of your friends. Spread the love. The universe is expanding, baby. This is an ever-expanding universe of weirdos, and I owe it all to the wonderful world of mouth? The wonderful word of mouth that everybody's getting out, telling your friends, because from what I've noticed, when I see like multiple subscribers from other countries, like when I see I got 6 subscribers from the United Arab Emirates, I have to believe that it's one person telling 5 more of their friends about it. I got 11 people from Switzerland the other day. It's pretty awesome, and we're growing a lot, and I love that. So if you want to find me on my socials, you can. jcraft247 on X. Instagram, I'm Universe of Weirdos. I don't do much on either of those platforms, so I don't blame you for not following me on there. But I would love to hear some of your feedback and questions, so send those over to my email, universeofweirdos@gmail.com, and I will be sure to include you in a future FAQ episode. But hey, that's all for these lying lies of one Hulk Hogan. Thank you once again to Sean Jones Jr. for the topic for this episode. And I will see you guys very, very soon for the next one, going over the Final Fantasy cult. Very soon. It's going to be fun. And I will see you then, blasting off. See ya.